And I frankly have had accusations against me personally and against organizations that I'm associated with. But those allegations, from what I have heard, have not been in any form substantiated to say, this is why we say this is why we say this is the evidence. They have not been substantiated in any form or manner. And my intention is to totally avoid any response to them. I have no intention whatsoever to respond to them. I will continue to be focused on our own agenda, which does not conflict in any way with the agenda. The reason we set up the People's Government was because we are completely convinced that we won the election of 2016. We have evidence of that, which we believe is incontrovertible. We have not had any opportunity to present that evidence before any process that can formally make a decision on it, because I was not available to the constitutional process of petitioning the Supreme Court because I was under illegal detention. We tried to demand for an audit, internationally supervised audit. It did not happen. So our agenda in the current politics is different from the agendas of other people. It is clear that our agenda is different. Our agenda starts with the assertion that Mr. Museveni is in office wrongly, and that having forcefully grabbed power in 2016, he is using it to do other terrible things for the politics. He has appointed an electoral commission while in office illegitimately, according to our assertion. And even if he was legitimately there, against the backdrop of, overwhelming demand for reforms on how an electoral commission is appointed, that certainly it shouldn't be the sole role of a candidate, because Mr. Museveni is a permanent candidate. So appointing an electoral commission by himself is something that is detestable, that is unequitable, that is immoral, but he has again done it while in office that we contest he should not be. We also contest the whole idea of Mr. Museveni taking troops to parliament, beating up MPs, maiming them, in the process of removing age limit, which did not allow him to become a candidate again. We protest in the strongest terms the fact that while in office, illegally, illegitimately, he has gone ahead to demonstrate massive abuse of human rights, like the massacre in Kasese, cold-blooded massacre of hundreds of people. Now, of course, while in office illegally, there has also been now the unprecedented case where somebody has been tried in an open court of a democratic country, the United States, and convicted of bribing Mr. Museveni and one of his ministers, Sam Kutesa, with money from China. Now, these are matters which are so grave concerning somebody in office who should not be there, that our own focus is on correcting that. Our own focus is on making sure he leaves office. Our own focus is making sure that there is a transition through which a free and fair election can be organized. That is our agenda. Now, it appears the agenda of our friends is slightly or significantly different, because it seems our friends recognize Mr. Museveni's presence in office as legitimate and his actions as legitimate, appointing another electoral commission, amending the constitution to become a candidate again, and so on. So some of our colleagues are simply focused, or appear to be focused, on preparing for the election that Mr. Museveni is to organize, whenever it is, whether it's 2021 or whatever. Our focus is not there. And we don't have any problem with those whose focus is different from ours. We have absolutely no conflict, no problem with them. Those who want to focus on a Museveni organized election, a Museveni candidate election of 2021 or wherever it's focused, they are free to do so. We have no problems with them. Unless you haven't heard me, we have two agendas. One, to do everything within our power to get Museveni out of office as quickly as we can. Not waiting for any election, because he's not supposed to be in office to start with. So he has no business, we have no business waiting on him, to rig another election. He should simply get out, and we are rallying the country to push him out of office. That is our agenda, one, to rally the country to push him out of office. He shouldn't be there. Two, we have also made it very clear that whenever any other election is organized, he should never be a candidate, because the Constitution, our Constitution, is clear that once you are 75, you should not qualify to be nominated in a presidential election. And his attempt at, violently changing that Constitution is totally unacceptable. And so we assert, of course, the matter is still in his courts, because even the courts are his. Mr. Museveni has appointed all the judges of Uganda. There is not a single judge that was not appointed by Mr. Museveni because of his 30-something years in office. So for us, we are not bothered with all those problems. We have simply taken a very straightforward position that he should not be a candidate again in any future elections. And again, to achieve that, we rally the country to stop him from ever becoming a candidate. And to stop him how? We've said very clearly we shall rally Ugandans to undertake non-violent actions to stop the junta, the NRM junta, from further governing the country illegitimately.
Have you tried talking to your who are, because you know my correctors, last time one interview you corrected that there is no opposition, or who are seemingly in opposition. Have you tried to rally them to come to you as in to be?
Oh yes. We've had, very detailed discussion with the whole range of actors who seek change in this country. But very clearly, we are not on the same page as to how that change comes. Maybe even to what that change is, which is the reason I have suggested, and I continue to suggest, that we should have a public conversation, all of us, all those who seek change, that we should, because this change we seek for is for the country, is for the people, for all Ugandans. We act in the interest of all Ugandans. So since we seem not to be on the same page on these issues, one of the ways to resolve it is to have a public conversation that, people power sit here, maybe DP block or whatever sit here, people's government sit here, and we discuss in the view of all Ugandans. These matters, we can discuss what is the problem we want to get rid of. Do we have the same understanding so that, we talk about it? And Ugandans can also contribute to the conversation. What is the problem we want to change? What do we want to put away? What is the problem of Uganda that we want to remove? So that we again, with the population, come to the same page about what it is we want to see changing. Secondly, we can discuss how do we hope or intend to cause that change? What is the mechanism? What is the appropriate mechanism that can deliver the change we want? And we can converse, and the population can listen and get involved. So that it's not just our, an elite conversation behind the curtains, that it's an open, transparent conversation amongst us who seek change for the country, because the change we seek is not our change, it's a change for the country. So we should involve the country in this conversation, that it's not a matter between block this and block that. No, we can have a public, open conversation. This is what I have recommended. But, whether it happens or not, as I have indicated to you, we have made out our agenda, we have spelled it out as clear as we can, and we are moving on it. I just came back last night from upcountry, where we are proceeding with our agenda. I am continuing this week upcountry with our agenda. So for us, we are not in any way distracted from our course.
Doctor, just to be clear, maybe correcting the media, you are not against unity or having one as united forces of change. You're not against it.
Absolutely not. But you see, to unite, you must unite for a purpose. In other words, you must unite when you are going to the same place. If one is going that way and another one is going that way, it's simply not possible to unite. So this is why it's important to have a conversation and have evolve a commonality of views as to what change we want, how we can get it, how we will manage it, because even when change comes, you must manage it. All these are very critical issues that we need to have a conversation on. And we have been having these conversations, but privately. And when we have conversations privately, the downside of it is that when we come to the public, then we give the public different views from what we had, from the views we express in public. So we should transparently engage the public, all of us. This is because at the center of all these are interests, vested interests. Because we are talking about leadership positions and so on, and everybody has some vested interests in all of this. And sometimes it's difficult to process personal vested interests from, public interests of everybody. Find leaders tend to focus on their own interests, quite often at the expense of the common good. And that has been the biggest challenge for our country, that leaders focus on private, personal interests, not so much on the common good, the public good. And a public discussion can eliminate that. So that, you know, through that conversation, it is seen if Besigye is a problem. It can be, you know, exposed. If something else is the problem, it can be exposed. So that remains my recommendation, that we have a candid conversation involving all players who are seeking change in a public domain, with the public. All of you media people, you know, sit there, just like we have had debates at some stage. In FDC, when we have campaigns, we have conversations amongst ourselves which are televised. And people know what it is, what are the differences between these people. So we should have the same. Let's have a connection with all radios in the country, TVs in the country. Let's sit in a nice, quiet room and discuss this.